Hey, what's going on, everybody? So, this is a brand new podcast. My name's Jax. I'm sitting here with Token, Ghost, and Frankie, and this is going to be a variety slash political show. We're going to get into everything. So, we thought it would be pretty interesting if we went off and decided our show name on our first cast. Token, you want to say what's up? Alrighty, he's a man of few words. Ghost?
Hello, everybody.
All right, all right. And what's up, Frankie?
How's everybody doing?
Oh, we're wonderful, wonderful, lovely night. So what we did was we want to go ahead and start talking about show names, and we had a bunch of ideas here. Frankie, what did you like? What one was the one you liked?
I was looking at conservative cartel.
Yeah, you like that, huh?
Got a good ring.
It does, definitely,
Agree.
definitely.
Just said.
Conservative cartel. So let's pick two more, and then we'll do a vote. So we had what was the other one? I'm trying to think. Ghost had suggested a bunch in the group chat that we have.
On the ones that
It is. Let's see. One that I actually did like was No Tears, Just Truth. Also, No Safe Spaces Radio. I know that Token had told me that he likes the unapologetics. Yeah, absolutely. So I think that might. What do you guys think? Where are we going to go? All right, give me your number one, Token. One more time.
also I would say censor this.
Censor this. That's not bad. That's really not bad. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, we're going to have to check that out. I think you can, there's a website, GoDaddy does something like that where you can check that out. What was your number one, Ghost? If you had to pick number one.
Conservative cartel.
Okay. And Frankie?
Yeah, I'm running with the conservative cartel.
Okay. All right. All right. I guess that's what we're going to do, fellas. So, welcome to the pilot cast of the Conservative Cartel. Welcome. Welcome. So, let's get into a couple things real fast. Ghost, give us just a little bit of background about yourself. You know that we're going to be anonymous because some people may not like our point of views, and the backlash that is out there right now on the left and the right is kind of extreme. So, give me a little bit of background about you, Ghost.
I would say just for as far as I didn't care about politics. I didn't care. Once I started to care, I was going the opposite way of who I am now. But when COVID happened, I took the red pill. Who I am now. In this room, but as a nation, I'm say
Totally agree with you on that.
I'm not going to say I didn't go anywhere with no mask on. Sometimes you got to do what they wanted to happen. When I say they, the power that be,
Mhm.
what they wanted to happen did not happen. They want to happen. And that's when people, they had nothing to do. They sit in their house, they go all day, and they got a rabbit hole. And I think it did some damage to them, but they don't find it.
A lot of people self-educated themselves with the free time that they had.
Just making babies, I guess. They were bored, they had nothing to do. They weren't working out, they weren't doing anything else. I think they were just trying to get as much knowledge that COVID is what got me there.
Okay. All right, Frankie, let's hear it.
Well, I've always followed politics, and it started to really get me aggravated. So I kind of stepped back and just didn't pay any attention to it. Would look at things here and there, and they're kind of messed up, but nothing to get off. And then a lot of things started to happen, like you mentioned, COVID, and just the movements and the people that are complaining about things that they know nothing about, and then just the whole political climate with the left and the right, and the way that things have gotten, and I start to pay more attention to it, starting to get back to the way I used to be, where it aggravates me. And I do think that people are waking up. They're starting to see, their plans are backfiring on them in a sense.
On both sides.
On both sides. You flip from 20 years ago, people thought everything I said was crazy. And a lot of the things that I said have happened, and they're starting to see the same things. People thought I was absolutely nuts. And now a lot of people think the way that I do. So definitely something going on.
All right, all right. Let's hear a token with the conspiracies that were out there now being proven it's really the truth. There's people out there that when something happened, all right, well, you're crazy for thinking that. And then the truth comes out later and it's. So with me, I've always paid attention. I always, went in the direction of what I thought was right for the country as far as when I voted. I voted for Obama the first time. It's not about race. It's about what's gonna happen with the country? What benefits us the most as a collective? And I started seeing the radical left doing their things. And when the BLM movement came out, which was a total fraud, total scheme, people are being prosecuted over. Right. I just I saw that I was just more conservative. I lean to the right. I'm not extreme. I'm not one of the let's go out and get the leftists and da da da. It's more my beliefs and just try and do things right and do things to benefit my family. And yeah, I like to speak my mind, but at the end of the day, try not to go too far because there's always consequences for your actions and your words. So with all that being said, now that you met everybody, we do have a guest in the studio. It's going to be our first guest. I couldn't be more proud to have this person on. Big influence in my life. I learned a lot from him. I think you guys are going to be well entertained. I know these gentlemen that are sitting here with me have a lot of questions for him. And maybe those questions will answer things that I don't even know. So we're going to learn a lot tonight from a veteran who is pro 1A and 2A. So with that, I'd like to welcome our first guest. I'd like to welcome Voice of Reason.
Hi, everybody. This is Voice of Reason.
What all Voice of Reason?
I don't know. I'm about to figure it out.
You want Mr. Voice of Reason or just Voice?
Well, we'll do voice.
So you guys drafted or enlisted?
It happened this way. My father woke me up one day and said, "Boy," he called me boy. He said, "Your last name begins with B, or V for Voice of Reason." He said, "You're going to get drafted." He said, "Now, what I would recommend you do, drive yourself down. If you don't want to hunt things through the jungle," he said, "join the Navy and go to school." He said, "It's free education." So I did what my father said. I joined the Navy, picked a school, and after being in the service for a month, I received a draft notice at home because they don't know that you've joined. Government takes a long time to figure things out, but I was already in the service at that time, and it was a smart move. You have to listen to your parents. Say no. They're the voice of reason.
What did your father do for you?
My father was actually in the Navy during the Second World War. He worked at the Philadelphia Navy Yard as a pipe fitter and metallurgist.
So did he have any stories to share with you about his experiences?
No, most people that are in combat or were in combat usually don't talk about their experience. You can see it on their face. You can see it in their eyes. Every now and then we would talk and, I'd ask him where he was and what was the name of the ship he was on. Friends that he was with, through my mother, told me that a lot of them died. They were hit by kamikazes. My father almost died. He was down the boiler room. Until this day, or until the day he died, he couldn't take the smell of diesel fuel because he ingested diesel fuel. So we would always avoid a place where there was diesel. But yeah, a lot of his friends perished. So he didn't talk about it much, but you could see the look on his face when certain shows came on where there was the Second World War, especially where he was at Midway. And he would sort of walk out of the room. It was a little bit too much for him to handle.
Non-combat experience.
A lot of stories. My father, the whole family, there were 6 boys and 2 girls. I'm sorry, 8 boys and 2 girls. They lived where Disney is now, Disney World. It was the Okefenokee Swamp. So they were redneck kids, pants that were tethered, went swimming where there were alligators. And they used to borrow the father's shotgun and shoot alligators. So that's the type of life they had. Well, his father was run out of Florida by the Ku Klux Klan, which stood for, at that time, a religious cult. My great-great-grandfather at that time was a bootlegger, besides living in Florida. And they didn't want a bootlegger there, so they drove him out. And they wound up going to Baltimore. Well, his father, they settled in Philadelphia after that, has the highest arrest record in Philadelphia in one day for selling bootleg whiskey. And he didn't know the ways of the Northeast where you had to pay the cops off. So he knew yellow cabs, and the yellow cabs, he'd load them up, pay the driver and have him drive around and deliver the booze to wherever he needed to deliver. But the cops caught on, and until he started paying off the cops, he was arrested 8 times in one day. And he looked like the Monopoly man. That's all I remember. He looked just like that figure in Monopoly, but his wife was a foot taller. It was a Southern woman who ruled with an iron fist. So, I mean, everybody listened to her, but that big Southern woman. Yeah, it's a pretty good life for him.
All right. So as far as you go, father told you to enlist before you got drafted. You got drafted anyway.
Correct.
Where was boot camp at?
Well, this is the way it worked for me. I found myself on a train, not even an airplane, waving goodbye to my parents. Now, this was during Vietnam. Waving goodbye to my parents when I was 18 at a train station in Philadelphia. And I still picture it till this day. Waving on a waving. When you're 18, you don't know anything. You think you do, but you don't. And at that moment, you become a man because you know where you've been, but you don't know where you're going. I had no idea. My parents taught me to be a man, stand up, do the right thing. And that's what I did. I just followed what I had to do. And I wound up at Great Lakes in Chicago. They're just trying to weed people out. They're trying to put you in a place. And they want to make sure it's in the right place. So there are people that fail. We had a lot of people from the mountains. Their IQ level was really minimal. And they tried to weed them out, and they did. People with some education wound up going to schools. If you didn't want to do what they would ask you to do, your instructors, you wound up scraping paint on ships. And my brother did that. He was the type of guy that didn't care and scraped paint. And eventually went AWOL, and he was discharged just because you don't play the game. It's a game. For 4 years, you do it. And I was fortunate enough to go to a school that I could cross-reference to civilian culture. So I knew that after I left, I could make money doing what they're teaching me to do. And it worked out in my favor.
Yeah.
You have to understand, it was that time when you looked at your bunk mates and you thought to yourself, who's going to die first? And actually, when we stood at parade rest, we had a few people there who we drew bullseyes on their backs when nobody could see us. And you would just draw this little fictitious bullseye and dot it. And when you dotted, they jumped because. But when I graduated school in the service, you had to have a little fun because on the other side of the wall, you could be dead. And so, we gave each other these stupid little gifts. I'm being sent overseas. They give me a body bag. Yeah, I don't know if that's funny, but that's the way we were. You had to have that humor. And there were a few things too. Once I got out of school, the first place I went to, you're a newbie. And of course, others are going to pick on you. And I was asked to go over and take a look at this guy's foot. And I went over and they said, take the bandage off and just take a look at it. Well, I did smell gangrene. I knew what that smelled like. And I reached down and pulled the dressing off, and 4 toes came off with it. Hey, welcome. There it was. But I held up well to it.
That was in the country area.
That was here.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot of these things, the first year I was here in the States, well, I did school and then I went to the hospital in Philadelphia, Naval Hospital, and I worked dirty surgery there. So I learned a lot. All of my ratings were good. I had a 4.0, which is the highest, because I cared. A lot of guys didn't care, and I cared. And I spent the extra time. I did screw up a couple of times. You're taking care of 12 people at night, and you're working 12-hour shifts, 7 days a week, because they were short of medical people. They were dying overseas. So you're exhausted. You're putting a lot of time, and I would fall asleep at night. And these 12 patients are dependent on, and we're losing one every couple of days. The antibiotics that they have now, they weren't around then. If we had the things we have today, probably most of them would have survived. But one day you're talking to somebody and they're fine, and next day, hey, so-and-so died. That's because they had a gross infection that you couldn't tell. But once I left there, I wound up I got a call to go to Camp Pendleton. Yeah. And little did I know that the reason they call you up is because a lot of them are dying over and not. So you got to get these replacements. And that worked out in my favor. Not that they died, but I did the whole Fleet Marine Force thing, which is when you go to Navy boot camp, they teach you how to work on a ship and so forth. Then when you go to school, they teach you how to save lives. And that's what I did. And then when I went with Marine Corps, they taught you how to kill people to save your life. So it's totally the opposite. And so it was pretty rigorous. It was 6 weeks of a Marine style boot camp. And it wasn't just, you know, petty officers and so it was all the way up to physicians. We were all together. Matter of fact, one of the physicians who didn't want to go shot his little finger off, and he had a round, blew his finger off. So that's how, I mean, things were really bad at that time. When I was in high school, a lot of guys were failing senior year, so they wouldn't have to go in the draft. So they'd still be in high school. And where we came from, there was a lot of money. Parents couldn't send you to college, or if, yeah, most of us were average people. So that was the nervous times. A lot of us in high school didn't frolic like you think people do. All the guys are nervous. So, but things worked out for me because went through the Marine Corps thing, and the day before graduation, we were pulled aside, me and another guy. He said, "We're going to put you out in the desert," which wasn't far away, in Southern California. You're going to spend the whole day together, and you're going to figure out who's going to go on the aircraft carrier and who's going with the 3rd Marines. They need them now. They need you now. I said, "Oh, here we are." So we said, all right, we go out there, and we had these bags of black powder, and we had, again, we're young guys. We're blowing lizards up with black powder. They're everywhere. I talked to this guy that was with me, and he was married with a child. I said, "Look," I said, you have to go on a carrier." I said, "It's a safer place for you." I said, "I have a girlfriend, but it's nothing really tight." I said, "So I'll go with the Marines." And so I found out the Marines was Okinawa. I said, "Wow, that's great. I'd go to Okinawa." Little did I know that's a staging area to pull people out of there to go. Once they caught on to how that worked, I became the most valuable person in life that I could become. So that I was so valuable they couldn't send me out. I stayed up at night. I was up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning doing lab work. I went with the pharmacist, learned how to make pharmaceuticals because they would send him bulk things, and he would have to actually hand make things to give as a pharmacy tech. That's what he had to do. I worked in surgery. All those things that make you valuable. So guys around me were getting sent, picked, and chose to go, and I made myself so valuable with physicians that they fought for me all the time, which is pretty good.
East of the Mississippi is Paris. So when they
Correct.
have much need on the other side, that
Oh, sure. Most of them go through Pendleton. I didn't even know that they had a FMF at Paris Island, but Pendleton was good. I don't know if you've ever had a chance to go past there, but it's one of the biggest military bases around. I mean, their interstate highways just go through, and to move you around, they put everybody in these what they call cattle cars and haul you all over the place. But it's a great learning experience. I enjoyed probably more being with the Marine Corps than I did with the Navy. And again, joined the Navy, never saw ship. People say, "What ship are you on?" "Oh, the Marine Corps." And they treated me well. Good food, never let anything happen to you. They protected you.
So what year was this that
I
you got sent to?
I was 67. I went in, so it was 68.
Okay, so obviously,
68, 69.
but there probably wasn't much in the way of protests going on.
Oh, there were.
Okay.
I
What did that do to you?
I wound up going to Paris Island, which is in San Francisco Bay, for 2 months before I went over. They sent me there. It's a staging thing. I don't know why that happened. They said they needed us right away, but I wound up going there. I had a cousin who lived right up in San Lorenzo, up on the hill, very wealthy. They had a couple cars, and they said, "Here, take one of the cars, and when are you leaving?" So we used to go to Haight-Ashbury,
Hippies were.
where the hippies were. But you know what? We had a camouflage. I mean, you could tell the military guy, short hair and everything, but we would wear hats, and we go up there and hang out and have fun. But the quiet part. Fun is getting away from the military. As long as they didn't know, you had all the leeway you wanted. You just couldn't let anybody know. When I was in Chicago in school, there were a list of places you couldn't go. And one was a place on the north side. There was a hippie hangout. Back then, it was the girls with no bras, and that was cool. So I'm walking along the Chicago Art Institute, and I see this girl, and we struck up a conversation. And she said, "Hey, how about if we got lunch?" And I wound up at that place. It had swastikas on the floor. If I was caught there, let me tell you something. I didn't have a uniform on. I had civilian clothes on. But if I was caught there, I think I'd have problems. Out there and going up the Haight Asbury, I think I would run into problems there also, which is pretty.
Basically, that probably would have been, for lack of a better term, like an epicenter for a lot of protests. So, but
Definitely. Let me tell you something. There wasn't a guy that was in the service at that time wanted to go to war. We all knew it was a political thing. And our problem was that we were stuck in the middle. But you had the other side who thought that we were all gung ho. Sure, there were some people who were gung ho, but most people didn't want to die. They want to come back, with arms and legs.
now, when you say a lot of us, you knew it was a political thing.
Right.
To what extent would be, because you know a lot more now. Yeah.
Well, I knew it then too.
But as far as, you know what I mean? Like, did you know, did you for 1 second think that you guys were just cannon fodder for big banks and the most industrial complex kind of thing? Or was it like,
I like where you're going with that, but when you have a big dog trying to bite you in the face, you don't think like you just thought.
yeah, of course.
All right. You see things and there's some rationale, but you're a young guy and you know that what's being told you, half of it's right, half of it's wrong. Just a side on this, when I was in Okinawa, we get our local papers, and local papers stated there's no bombing of North Vietnam. We're not using B-52s. And every day I would see them take off laden with bombs. I mean, that's the sort of thing you would see. You see the fighters going off all day, and of course they're saying nothing's happening, no bombing, and it's happening all day long.
Just like today.
Just like today, yeah.
Same thing. They tell you something, but you don't know what's going on in California. 'Cause
Right.
You're here.
Well, when I came back, when you talk about the hatred, maybe, I landed in Hawaii and they gave us a drink, which was pretty cool. But Hawaii is not the United States. And you know what I mean? It's removed. I land in LA and I get spit in my face right away. I get off the plane, right away I got spit in. And I've been spit at before. I was a guard at the Naval Hospital. They didn't have any Marines. They were all being killed. So they would give us 45s and make us stand at the gate. And they would spit at us, throw things at us. And I said to them, the whole group, I said, look, we believe what you believe, but I'm stuck here. You're not. You can leave. And why are you protesting at a hospital? These are all people that are hurt. And they would just look at you and walk away. It's not the shipyard. Go over there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did deal with some of the protests.
As a young man, they couldn't tell us what your feelings were about your own possible fate.
Right. Every day, every moment. Yeah. You never knew when that call was going to come. Friends who you developed a friendship, they'd be gone the next day. They got their billet number and they had to go out. And I never, ever run into anybody except one person that I served with. To show you the amount of stress that you're under, I served with this guy for 9 months. He actually shared a room with me. So I'm working at a hospital here in Philadelphia, and this guy worked as an anesthesiologist. And every day you're wearing a mask, so you really don't look at each other. One day I looked at him, and he looked at me. I said, I said, you're him. And he looked at me, he said, you're him. Yeah. And we worked together for almost a year. But that shows you how much pressure there was that you removed yourself from it away from it. And then we talked, we laughed about it. Yeah. But he went the other way. He went a little deep. He became the friend of Disney just to relieve all his emotions. He went to Disney like 100 times. That's how he found his quiet spot. And we talked about it a couple of times. And he would go there and be in his own little world. And he actually wound up getting divorced like a lot of guys did. And that's the last I heard him after I moved on.
In the country.
I was in Okinawa.
Okay.
And like I said, every day I'd wait. Every day, because guys are just being pulled out because people were being killed. They wanted to replenish the supply. I wasn't going to let that happen because the guys that they were pulling out were expendable, and I wasn't going to be that way. So I did everything I could, and I have letters from all these physicians saying, send him on to school when he gets out, and all this other stuff. So, and I had all these recommendations. But when I came back, I was being discharged, considered a Marine. I was being discharged from the Marine Center in Navy Yard. And so I'm like, all right, I'm being ready to be discharged. And they said, oh, no, you're not. I said, what are you talking about? Well, I'll tell you, we got a deal for you. Like Monty Hall, we got a deal. I said, all right, what's the deal? And they said, we need to have you do a body escort for us. And I don't know if you know what a body escort is. It's where you have a dead serviceman and you escort the body home to the family and you arrange for all the military things that go along with it, the honor guard, the funeral, everything. Now, you have to imagine, I'm 20 years old and I'm being thrown to the lion's den with the crying and all these things, all their emotions, the family's emotions. And they all want to know who you are. Did you know him? How did he die? And you can't answer any of those things because you don't know it. But the one family was this family out in Pennsylvania, and they were well known. Everything went well, even though the weather was middle winter out in the western part of Pennsylvania. It was like zero. What they picked us up at the train station in was first with the red light on top. That's how small an area this was. And so I slept the first night in the morgue on the table because hotels were all closed because of the snow. No rental cars, nothing. There was nothing available. So that thing went over smooth as I could make it. And when I went back, I said, all right. The neat thing was they gave you so much money, and if you had anything left over, you get to keep it. So I could get back, yeah, right, with all the emotion. So I get back, and I said, now I'm ready. And he said, nah, we need you again one more time. I said, you got to be kidding me. They said, well, look, this time we're going to give you something. We're going to make it so that you don't have to spend the time in the Navy as a reservist. I said, well, that sounds like a good deal. You do this one, no reserve duty. You're out because guys had spent 2 years in the reserves. So I said, all right, let's do it. I wind up going up to New Jersey to a very wealthy family. They're in athletic sporting goods. I don't know if you would know the name.
Yes.
No. No, I think it was Spalding, but it was a big castle looking house. And they tried to dress me up like their son with his clothes. And I'm telling you, it really gets freaky. And so we got that all done. And I got a nice letter. I got a commendation for that one. And when I went back, I'm done. That's it.
Yeah.
Because emotionally, it tears you apart. Because again, 3 days of crying, 3 days of questions, all this. And you're hoping that the honor guard shows up. You're hoping that everything works out because you walk that fine line. You know, your life is hanging in the balance.
Yeah, it makes you obviously look like a drone.
Yeah. Yeah. So you had to be squared away is what they say in the service. Fortunately, I got some accommodations for it. So, but anyway, I got out and that was it. I took a cab home because I had some money, didn't last long. And then there I was, free at last.
Your total time in.
I spent 3 years in. I could have done more. As a matter of fact, they tried to get me to stay in. Well, let's see. You weigh certain things. You say, look, if I stay in, they're offering money and they're offering a higher rank. I was at the highest rank I could be. They have limits on your rank. So I made third class in 2 years and I couldn't do anything for another 2 years. I couldn't climb up the ladder. So they said, we'll put you at second class and we'll give you a big bonus. I'm thinking, let's see, second class, I could get this big bonus or I could die.
Right.
I'm out of here. Yeah. I said, that's it. And I left.
So you did make it to Nam?
Nope. I was the lucky guy. Like I said, makes yourself valuable.
What was the worst thing?
There were a lot of them. They would send us the newly wounded that they couldn't handle. You had a hospital ship off the coast. They had Yokosuka, Japan, they would send it to. But if they had somebody who probably was going to die, they sent them here because it was quick. And the worst thing, again, there were a lot of them. One that always bothers me was at Philadelphia was a Marine Corps sergeant who ran out in the middle of a firefight to save some people. Now he got a Silver Star for it, all the goodies. They shot his gonads off. He was paralyzed for life, and they would have to give him injections every month to make his voice drop, let him have facial hair. And about 3 weeks before he got his injection, his eyes, if you saw him in the dark, he was like looking at the guys because he couldn't control it. He was becoming not a man, but not a woman either. It was just hard to tell what he was going to be like. But that was freaky. I've seen a lot of people with limbs off. I had a gentleman who was blown out of a hut. I thought they fragged him. His own troops fragged him. It looked like somebody took hunks of meat, hamburger, and threw him on his back. And he's the one who died one night. And he was doing fine. And then he'd have these clowns that would go out and just screw anything and wind up with severe infections, groin infections, and I mean, almost losing your penis. So you see that, but a lot of gunshot wounds, a lot of fractures, a lot of, I mean, everything you could think of. That's why when I got out of service, I was ready for trauma. I love trauma. It just so happened I wound up at Cherry Hill, a place where there's no trauma, right? Cherry Hill, and some employee snaps out in the mailroom somewhere and winds up shooting 8 people. Well, they're bringing these people in the emergency room. My office is right around the corner. So I go in there. I could see how they were saying, no, no, don't shoot. And they would shoot them in the hands. Yeah, all those things, And the doctors that were there, they had no idea what was going on. They said, let's put your finger here, or do this, do that. Well, when you work in a triage, you know what to do. So I thought it was valuable that day. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. Military is a good place as long as you keep your head about it.
So you're
Well, when I got out of the service, my wife knows this. For 20 years, I never talked about service to anybody. It's just something you didn't talk about because once you get spit in the face and yelled at and all these names, I didn't talk to anybody about it. And then one day my wife said, Veterans Day's coming up and one of the restaurants is giving out a free meal. I said, I don't want to do that. I said, I don't want to go to the wall. I don't want anything to. No, she said, look, maybe it's about time you go. It's a free meal. Texas Roadhouse. Well, that's what got me, Texas Roadhouse.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I went and the people were so nice, totally flip-flop way I was treated. And you could almost cry. They were treating all the veterans really well. That at that time, that's when I sort of eased up a little bit. I still can't go to the wall. I don't like that. I don't want to see somebody I knew name up on the wall. And you wonder if it would have been your name up on the wall. You always have to wonder about that, If I didn't keep myself as valuable as I would have, I could have been up there very easily. Because everybody was leaving was going to the front line. They weren't going in the back.
also need your thoughts on the why. Like, was it all obviously boys? Started, your father told you, so you went in with that. What did you need?
I left with an education, but I also left with a distrust. And I had some distrust, but I was young. What did I know about politics? But you learn as you go. I think someone here mentioned they voted for Obama. I was a Democrat. That's because I didn't know any better. I voted for Obama, and the second time around, I'm like, I'm going to vote for Obama again, but he didn't do anything. There was nothing that was done. I said, all right, one more time. I got to give him another chance. 4 years, maybe not enough. Well, let me tell you, halfway through the second administration, I became a Republican because I saw the writing on the wall. I saw the country changing. It was going back to the same way it was. And it's not controlled by the people. It's controlled by money.
Right.
And that's the thing that bothered me. And most of the people in medicine are Democrats. You couldn't talk to them about it because if they knew you were a Republican, and they would laugh about it. Yeah, we're doing this, we're doing that. No, you're all wrong. And it was wrong. At least I thought it was wrong. I'm proud to be a Republican, and I'm proud of the beliefs. It's a shame that it's working out the way it's working, but that most Republicans don't stand up. But I understand that. You have a family, and look at Charlie Kirk. He spoke the truth. He never talked about people in a bad way, and he winds up getting killed. And it's going to happen again, unfortunately. It's going to happen again. And you got to feel bad for Mrs. Kirk if she takes over the reins like she said she's going to do. In this country, you have two groups of people with two different feelings. But one won't listen. They don't want to hear anything.
Would you say that in your time,
Mm-hmm.
there wasn't such a crazy divide with your regular
life? Right. It wasn't like it is now. You could talk. You could talk to a Democrat. They could talk to you. And it was because of this dialogue that there wasn't any harsh feelings. They were your friends, but they just had different beliefs, political belief.
You could agree to disagree.
Right. And we never thought anything of it until all of these things started to happen. It's just hard for me to explain how I feel about it, but I'm a staunch Republican. And the reason for that is because of the far left pushing so hard makes us dig in deeper.
Yeah.
Was the way I've always thought of it is, I think if JFK was alive today, they would probably call him the right.
Definitely. Yeah.
I believe probably because back then there was certainly more laws.
Right.
Well, maybe not more laws, but the definition of morality was maybe a little different back then.
Well, I have a theory on morality, and you may want in the 60s, things were falling apart. What happened was women decided to give the key away. Women were in charge. They let us know we could do. You hate to admit it, you're a guy, they controlled everything. If you wanted to go out and have drinks with your friends, you had to ask your wife or your girlfriend. And then the girls wanted to play. The girls wanted to get in on it. And so they said, the key that we have that unlocks the door for you to have fun, we're going to put it over here out of the way. So now we're going to do the same thing. Nobody has the key anymore. Nobody has that key of morality. So you have people going out, doing whatever they want to do now. And when I lived in the 60s, it was fantastic before Vietnam. When people would just have a good time. I'm not good.
And you said it yourself, the women not so much control everything, but they were
Gatekeepers.
yeah, they were the
They were the
gatekeepers.
gatekeepers.
When you separate the mother from her cubs,
Right.
it makes it easier for the hate.
Well, we're all capable. As guys, we're all capable. We go out and do our own thing. We get in trouble.
But back then, the men were working, and the women were at home.
Women were at home, and it was great. But my mother, she worked. She was in vaudeville show business, and she was out working. And after 2 weeks on the road, would come back. But my father never strayed. That was the way it was back then. You knew your place in life with your wife, husband, everybody. You understood what you're going to do. So different now. I see what people are going through. Kids without fathers, big thing. And you can see the look in her eye. The look in her eye is like, who the heck are you talking to me? Threw your ice cream on the floor, and, you walk away, then you say, he was never taught to pick his ice cream up off the floor, or at least say, look, I spilled my ice cream.
Yeah. Well, would you agree that back then, more of a village, the mother wasn't around, the parent wasn't around to correct that child? Well, maybe the next door neighbor could, right? I feel like there was much more.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in Philadelphia. I know what you're talking about. The whole block would watch the kids.
Yeah.
And if you did something wrong, let me tell you something. Your butt got smacked.
Oh yeah, no matter who it was, it put you in your place.
You're darn right. And I grew up in an area where it was all Italians off banana boats who didn't speak English, but they watched you. They watched all the kids. And of course, when the street lights came on, you all went in the house. But those people come down and tell your parents that you did something wrong. And it was a great upbringing because we had a lot of free time. We were given a lot of range to go places. I used to take a bus and go 20 blocks away when I was probably 8 or 9 years old to go to the Franklin Institute on my own. My parents trusted me. They give me a little bit of money, and I go, and probably once or twice a month, I go to Franklin Institute on my own as a young kid. So, but you had people watching out for you. I remember we used to go as a group, and there was a bus station going towards League Island, going where the baseball stadium is out there. And as kids, we used our money right away, and they had vending machines. We eat all the candy on our way there. On the way back, we'd be, oh, man, we're starving. We were really starving, but we were hungry. And there was a bus driver there. And this bus driver would say, all right, here you go. Here's a quarter for you, because he knew, and they watched out for each other. So, yeah, a big difference now. Big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately.
You leave your house and
There's nobody that shows them the way.
Yep.
You got to show them the way.
blind eye and goes running away.
Yep. My father, I never had a run-in with him. He was, when he spoke, he was pretty soft-spoken, but you did what he told you. My brother one day didn't know what he was told and said something derogatory about his mother, and my father hauled off and punched him in the chest, and he never said another word after that. My father was this little Popeye-looking guy, and just nailed him hard. I don't want that to happen to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get in line. Another problem nowadays. No discipline. You can't discipline your kid. God forbid somebody sees you in this.
We weren't the best kids in the world, my brother and I. We got into a lot of stupid things. We lived over top of dry cleaners one time, and we flooded the dry cleaner out. They kicked us out. I mean, so many things we did. My mother one time was at wit's end one time and tied us in bed because we would get up and do things. And my sister, a year older, would give us a butter knife and watch us like idiots trying to saw through a piece of rope. Now, it wasn't both our legs, it was only one leg each. So it wasn't like we were restrained. But yeah, I mean, as a lesson. But one morning at Christmas, we get up around 3 o'clock in the morning and they gave us ping pong ball guns. And when you compress them, the ping pong balls come out. And we shot every ball off the Christmas tree before they even got up. But that's what we did as kids. We didn't hurt anybody. We just hurt ourselves. It was, yeah, it was fun.
Nowadays it's the complete opposite. Teachers are always wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And we've all seen what that's bred, what kind of behavior that
And my wife's a teacher, by the way, so I know the stories she talks about. She's old school teacher, so she knows how to handle the kids. Young teachers don't. She constantly says that they just sit there and look at them as they mouth off or whatever they're doing. There's no correction because they're afraid of losing their jobs. My mother, geez, Freudian slip. My wife, uh, she can control them because she's learned through the years how to do it. I tell her we have one car because we're minimalist sort of. And so I drive her to school and I'll say, do you want me to fill in for you today? She said, you go to jail the first 5 minutes. I said, you give them kids to me, I'll straighten them out. But nah, she knows how to deal with them.
all right, so going back to Gulf of Tonkin.
Yeah.
Lotus.
Tribes. The Vietnamese didn't attack. What the heck was the name of the ship? I can't even think of the name of it, but yeah, it was contrived just to get us going. Definitely. Yeah. Second World War, same thing. So it's not that you want to go to war, but first of all, it's the economy. That's what they're thinking about. We got to make money, big war machine. And if the economy is bad, it gets people back to work. And that's the first thing they think of. Let's make everybody go fight, use up equipment. We'll have to build this equipment and send them back down.
Yeah, I also think, all the R&D that's put into all the money that's put into R&D from these military industrial complex companies. Well, when your toolbox is full, you want to play with your toys, and you can test all you want, but you have to do a little test with it.
Right.
Every once in a while, the way they can figure it.
Well, I was fortunate. I would go to the rifle range with the Marines, and they would let me try some of the things. And hey, come on, Doc, come on up and shoot some things. But we didn't get the weapons they have nowadays. Look what they had. But thinking back, I had my son with me, and we were going into a store. It was when the war, in Afghanistan started, and it just tore me apart. I said, here we go again with this crap, the same bullshit. And we turned around. I went back to the car. I didn't want to go in the store because the same thing was going to happen. Right. So, all right, the people that our troops were attacking to have the equipment we had and all that. So it was fairly easy compared to what happened in the past. Still, it's murder. That's all it is. Those people have children, wives, and they're trying to defend their country, even though, all right, maybe for the wrong reason, who knows? But they're defending their country just like we would if they came here.
Yeah.
That's what we would look like.
Yeah, I'm not sure that could be always if they're defending,
War is not a good thing, no matter what.
You couldn't, I'm sure, you look back on it now, you can't blame the Vietnamese for defending.
No. Matter of fact, we'd have done the same thing. And, you look back at like the Naval Hospital in Philadelphia was the biggest amputee center on the East Coast. Hundreds of guys missing arms and legs. And that's what war's about. The misery.
Yeah, I saw one of those little cartoons. Well, it was a cartoon, but it was, and it was it's 2 panels. So the top one is a general looking down on his troops. The second panel is the same troops on the back, keeping up, clutches. Yeah, general.
They're not going. We look at like pork chop Bill. If I were there, I don't even know if I go up the hill. You don't know, but that's why they want somebody at 7 or 18 or 19, because they don't think they go. They're told to go. Yeah. So no matter what, war is not a good thing. A lot of took that Agent Orange, all those things that were meant to really destroy people. And granted, it took leaves off trees, but it killed a lot of people.
Yeah, they screwed a lot of guys out of outreach.
I worked for a physician. He, not in the VA, took care of a guy who had spinal problems because of Agent Orange. And this man didn't want to go to VA. He had private insurance. And so this physician did the surgery on him, very expensive surgery, tumor. He did a big tumor and everything. And right before Christmas, he died. They used to bring his 2 little girls in and his wife into the office. And when my boss or the guy I worked with found out that this guy died, he said, I want you to cut a check for everything they paid and send it to them. And that's, that's what it's all about, caring about people.
Yeah.
Just every time I think about that, I think to give it all back to them. It didn't, they were fatherless, but
Yeah.
at least helped them a little bit.
So
You want to ask if I remember my name?
no, you're Slim Truck. That's for sure. You're none of these guys do. What would you say your parents knew on Lyndon Johnson? You guys said you grew up as Democrat? Oh,
I did. Not, I don't know my parents were.
right. Okay. So my father would tell you to smoke.
Yeah, we never discussed politics at all. As a matter of fact, my father loved all different people. Everybody would come over to the house from work. Matter of fact, when Navy Yard had big barbecues and things, everybody would get together. There was none of this stuff. They didn't care who you were, and it was great. As a matter of fact, when I got out of the service, I went to work at a local hospital, and it's the first time I ever met a Jewish person. First time I ever heard of a Jewish person. I'm like, what's that mean, a Jewish person? Because my parents never really said anything about anyone. And the way they talked about him, he's a Jew, I'm like, what? What's that mean?
So, like you had said earlier, we were calling that earlier, there wasn't such a huge divide.
Right. Correct.
So I'm sure we can only imagine that your parents thought of like being transgender would be. I mean, we could fill it with lots. Right?
Yeah, my father probably would have had a few comments. Back then, people weren't as flamboyant. You had what we call queer people, but you didn't have the cross dressers. They were all closet people. And so we never get a chance to see any of that. But there were like on South Street, I heard there was a couple strip clubs where they had cross dressing people and all that. But even till this day, when I went down to Florida to visit people, they would go to a bar with cross dressers. And I'm like, why would I want to go there? It serves no purpose for me to go there. And how I feel about it, I feel sorry for them. I really do. My sister says those poor souls, and they are. I mean,
They feel there must be something wrong. Right?
oh, definitely. I got to tell you a story. I got to tell you the story. And I'm sorry I'm bringing it up, but I had a guy come in who was a nun, who became a guy, had a penis sewn on. And back then, now this was a long time ago, the penis fell off. They don't stay on. The penis, probably about 5 inches, and they stay hard all the time. I'll bet you would. Yeah. But anyway, so here's a nun female who drops out of the nunhood, who becomes a man, and the wiener falls off. And now we get to know him really well, and I'll never forget his name. I know his name now, but I'm not going to say it. And so one day, he comes in, and he's got a good-looking girl with him and a young guy with him. And they walk up and they said, this is our dad. Well, no, it was your mother. Come on, it's so confusing. It was your mother. Now it's your father without a wiener. But anyway, and one time I got sent up to go do a history and physical on a patient, and it was a joke. They sent me up there, but it was a cross dresser. They put this guy in a woman's room because they didn't know how to separate them back. And of course, I knew right away. I'm like,
Yeah, they're clearly and this isn't literally something that it can be.
well, back then, when I grew up, when you saw a queer guy, I mean, that was like atrocious. You didn't say anything else. Now look at it, it's everywhere. As a matter of fact, coming here tonight, I thought I saw one walking a dog.
No, it's me.
No. It was Token. No, I'm only kidding. I thought he fell asleep, but no. And I saw this. It looked like a guy. He had his hand like this. He's walking a dog. I'm thinking, it looked like a guy. I don't care. Just leave me alone. I don't want to know about your crap.
Yeah.
Really?
Really, I mean, it's not something that you really could go around talking about to begin with, but they push it to the forefront and shove it down your throat.
Right.
Now,
Watch how you say that.
but you look at kids, right? Kids,
Right.
They're impressionable. You're impressioning young children to think that this is the way to be.
Yeah.
It's saying that, you might say, oh, it's ignorant for you to say that this is the way to be because it goes against what you're doing.
Yeah.
But that's what it is. And they take the attention away from everything else that's going on. And the only thing that anybody's worried about is what's between their legs. No one cares.
I
Stop
spent
anybody that drives down the street here and ask them something about what's going on or who the governor of the state is. They won't be okay with you.
Right.
I can guarantee you that.
Well, I spent 8 years in Florida during COVID. The best 8 years of my life. You know why? Because the governor down there took charge. Didn't listen to the president at that time. Didn't listen to those rules. So for 2 months, we followed it. And then guess what? At dawn, we were allowed to do things that the rest of the country wasn't able to do. Restaurants open. Granted, they wanted you to wear a mask. All right, so that's a trade-off. Wear the mask. It didn't do anything. Big deal. The schools opened. There was nothing on where you had to go buy a computer to your house and all that.
Yeah.
My wife now up here, after she taught there, comes up here, the kids are 2 years behind.
Yeah.
Because they sat in the house and did nothing. She'll tell you, she has kids that are in 10th grade that have an 8th grade IQ because of the damn COVID thing.
And as all they did was blast the DeSantis for that.
Oh, God, he could do whatever. Let me tell you, it was great to live in Florida at that time because we didn't put up with that crap.
That's how you know you're doing something right when they're busting your balls about it.
As a fisherman, I thought they were going to say, oh, COVID, you can't fish. No, the first thing he said was, get in your boats and go out and have a good time.
Yeah.
And we did.
Look at Hollywood children. What are the odds that so many of these Hollywood children they're gay? It's it's a native look with the other.
Right.
All right. Now it's become the native.
Yeah, it is.
That's exactly what it is.
It's like those children, the adopted one, and fashion accessories to be set up. My daughter, she's going into 8th grade.
Are there any
Same sex, this and that.
any furries?
Furries? A couple dollars.
Yeah, furries, right? My wife, she tells me she sees people holding hands, young kids holding hands. That you could tell they're not just friends. They're closer than friends. Or they make it look like it as they're playing that part. And you go to any store, you'll see 2 girls holding hands.
Oh, it's everywhere.
So you don't know if they're just playing the part or if they just for reaction.
Well, it's that slippery slope I was talking about where, gay, it was gay then. And now look where we're at. And now, it's what they offer. So
They're grooming them. That's what they do. They groom. Horrible. Horrible.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, years back when you had a sex change, and I actually went on and saw one. I had to walk out because it was sacrilegious. I was invited to go in. I knew the surgeon. He said, Bob, what's your reason? Come on in, take a look at the surgery. And I go in, and what do I see? I see a room where the people that work in the OR don't talk. Now, what I did, where I work, people talk. You talk, person was under anesthesia, and you would talk as you work. I walk in there, and there was no voice interaction whatsoever. And I see this physician hold the penis up in between his hands, takes a scalpel and fillets the penis all the way down. And I looked and I said, I'm out of here. I said, there's something wrong with this. And it was like, I'm not a religious guy. That was a religious moment for me. There was something wrong. But back then they used to have you, people who wanted to have sex changes had to go see psychiatrists, had to get approval, make sure there wasn't anything. There was a big thing you had to do. I don't think they do that
You
anymore.
probably have to be over 18.
Oh yeah, definitely.
These kids can go and have all this stuff done. And you got to be 21 to buy a beer.
Oh yeah.
Right.
But you should be 21 to have that done, or 25.
And you should definitely have some kind
Cool.
of, yeah.
a lot of drinks like that.
I mean, my
Nothing
personal
showable.
opinion would be that parents that allow their minor children to have a surgery like that should be prosecuted. The parents should be charged unfit. The children should be taken away. It's not right because your mind's not developed. At 14 years old, to have your kid say, "Well, I think I'm really a boy or I'm a girl." Okay, let's go have a surgery. We'll fix that.
Yeah.
There's something wrong.
Yeah, some of the shrinks, they're advocates for this stuff. You got to watch who you pick and choose.
Well, the whole
It's money. Well, that surgery, I don't think insurance pays for it. And
Well,
I
no,
think
it might.
you have to pay. Well, I don't know.
Nowadays, they chalk it up to mental health. They say, you're you're a guy living in a woman's body, you might want to hurt yourself or something. So you want to make sure you're all right.
Let me ask you something. As a man, would you ever want to be a woman?
No,
I don't know who. Well, I don't know about Token over here. He's quiet. But, are you? Oh, okay. We just want to make sure. But I don't know a guy, a real man, we're real men, uh, who say, let's go get a sex change. I'd rather go get a beer. Let's get a beer.
I mean, I could agree that there's gay and lesbian people. I can accept that. I don't care what you do. What you want to do, that's fine. I don't care. Do I come to your house and tell you I'm straight every day? Are you watching straight stuff on? No. You'd look at me weird if I had a straight and proud sticker on my truck, right?
And to speak to that, gay pride. Oh, listen, that's a crap. But why would gay pride parade have to be so disgusting, laughing? Listen, it's almost got to be set with that. Well, we get it. Like, whatever, if there was a straight pride parade, we would be a bunch of straight people at that. And it cheapens their own argument when you see things like that. And then people, they wonder why young folks on at a gay pride parade. And it speaks to me to a complete and utter demoralization of American society. And that's a communist thing.
It's all part of their plan. All part of it started, all of this stuff that's happening now started probably 40, 50 years ago. They worked it right into the curriculum and everything. This whole thing was planned. And it's all just, it's really coming to a head now. And they went too hard, like you're saying. They get too hard with they push everybody to either conform or say, why are we doing this? And a lot of people, when I saw this movement, I'm like, oh, maybe this is about people that find out what, how the shit really is. No, it couldn't be further from the truth. I figured, oh, maybe people are awake, they're seeing what's going on. No, it's a whole different thing.
Well, you had religion. You had the Catholic Church who was standing and saying, we don't believe in any of this, and they changed their mind now. Now they folded.
Yeah. Well, that's a major reason why I walked away from forming bread from the Catholic. It was kind of done. I walked away a long time ago. Dogma is dogma. It's only way good now. And it shouldn't change.
Everything's like playing Candyland with 5-year-old now. It's just, let them have this, let them do that. 100 people don't like it, but if one wants this, then everybody has to have hot dogs now. It's ridiculous. They pander to shit that don't matter. Everybody else has to suffer. We all have to pay,
instead of worrying about the 99.
Yeah, it's a shame the way the world's going now, but I'm just glad I'm not one of them. Yeah. Not yet. That maybe wake up. I don't know what's going to happen. No, once you see it, there's no going back.
I don't want it, and I never will.
They talk about in Afghanistan that one American where they beheaded them, and somebody said to me, "Don't watch it because once you see it, you're never going to forget it." Well, once I saw that, I think about that all the time. And ABC, all owned same conglomerates, and they pushed the woke agenda. Matter of fact, when I lived in Florida, a lot of the people down there didn't go to Disney because of the agenda they pushed. We stopped going. I mean, it used to be the place to have fun. Not anymore.
All right. So, Bob, before you get going, voice of reason, before you get going, what would you like to say? Do you have anything that is stuck out to you that you want to reiterate? Is there something you didn't touch on that you may talk about briefly?
Well, I think we covered most of the bases. I just wish people I'm not Martin Luther King, but I just wish everybody would get along. Rodney King. Who cares if you vote Republican or Democrat? It's what your feelings are of how you want the country to go. And by getting physical with people, what good is it? What you did when you jumped on the bandwagon with Charlie Kirk after he died, you woke Republican Party up. Like Mrs. Kirk said, you woke up a lion, and she's going to carry it. And now there's more people, more college age, university age people involved with the Republican Party. We're going to turn this thing around. You have to turn it around because what's the alternative? Again, allowing children to have sex changes, killing people, no parents around. It's just a horrible scenario. It's got to change.
What would you like to say to the little?
Who?
The little voice of reason?
Oh, you mean the little voice of reason?
The little.
I think I covered all the bases with him. He's a respectable adult in most people's eyes.
A good looking.
I wouldn't say that.
I'm not gay.
No, I understand that. I mean, you can look at a guy and say he's a good looking guy and not be gay, you know? But look, women put on all this makeup, make themselves look good. We're allowed to be ugly. You know, we get up in the morning, we look at each other, and we go, all right, you'll survive today. You know, well, let's look at the political parties. We'll survive today. I mean, some of us are ugly, some of you are ugly. Maybe we have different point of view, but got to get it together. Got to get the act going together. I've lost relatives because of this whole thing. Don't talk to us anymore. Really got crazy on Facebook. And then I returned. Maybe should just cut them off right then and there. And then they got their friends involved to attack me on Facebook. And it was just unbelievable. And they were all professionals too. They weren't hardworking American people.
Yeah.
Well, would you agree that that's a big difference between, that is one big difference between the two parties is I don't know any people on that feeling for drugs who ever agree that to somebody.
Correct. I wouldn't do it. Right. We're easygoing people. We don't go out and harm people because of what your beliefs are. You know, we're open. We want to hear what you have to say, but you don't talk. You yell. You yell at what you think is right, but you won't listen to what we say is right or think is right.
Yeah, I've always said that free speech isn't around for the speech. That you have anything else to add? I really wish that breathing drinking go the same way. And you know, I hope this is a new beginning for the show, and I would really hope you come back. It doesn't have to be about your pet service. Would be all great. It could be about anything.
No problem. Be more than happy to come back. All right, same here. Thank you.
But you will always my words. Thanks again. That was great. I hope yeah, at least me, I made most out of all of it.
Well, that was some good stuff there, huh? But I hope he comes back and hangs with us again.
What do you want?
What do I want to talk about? Let's talk about some current events. What's going on in the world? I saw a post, and it's in it was on Facebook, and it was a Republican group, and it was talking about the next set of presidents. It said, here's where we're at. We got Donald Trump. They want to see J.D. Vance for the next 2 terms. After that, it'll be Mrs. Kirk for 2, and then Barron Trump for 2. That's pretty wild if that happened.
So, I don't know. I'm probably gonna get this. I really had to give up my MAGA data. There's something pushing it. I have an idea of what it is.
Do you want to elaborate on that at all?
They were going to kind of happen. Right?
Okay.
You could look back on all. I'm for like the Middle Eastern, not related to our Middle Eastern foreign. Yeah, see it to all be close. So it's just very small. That other than oil has not much to offer.
Yeah. Well, we made that what it is. It wasn't for the United States. That would not exist. You know, they signed that treaty and gave that back to them. But I don't know. I mean, I'm a little torn on it. I think the Biden administration turned their back on, and they really should though.
It was real.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're getting tromped on for defending their country. Now, I saw something the other day where they're trying to say that Israel knew that a year before it happened. But I mean, that wasn't right. You threw their naked bodies around town. I mean, the other thing is that entire Middle Eastern thing is it's been an issue. It's gonna be an issue. There's so many things involved in that. You have to just every religion wants that Temple Mount. There's something there. I don't know if you know the history of it.
Oh yeah.
It's the only place on earth that God has appeared. So he accepted all kinds of stuff. So there's definitely something there. Nobody wants Israel to have that. You know about the 7-Day War, and they weren't in a country for days, and they were at war. There was all kinds of crazy right next to tanks and not blowing up. It's indescribable. Like there's something special about it. But the fighting will never stop there. It will never end.
Yeah, ever since Cain's been able, they were all it's gone on for so long that they practically
Yeah.
Let's be honest, if Iran, as Iran, not not Hamas and Hezbollah like that? What did I end?
Nothing. I mean, there was some terrorist attacks over the years. The one guy that was in there was going to build a nuke, and it was a big thing. And I gotta look this guy up because I can't remember it. They were like really crazy about getting rid of this guy. He's going to build a nuke, gotta take him out. But I mean, it's
Yeah.
you know what it is. Like, they did the same thing with Saddam Hussein. They went over there, weapons of mass destruction. They're dropping all over the desert. They're finding this trailer. They're saying it was this. I mean, to be honest with you, what they did to Saddam Hussein was a king.
Yeah.
His country armed him, pushed the father, gave him everything. The first president that I remember is Ronald Reagan on television. He was the president for the first 8 years of my life. I was born in 19. So I started seeing this on TV, and I paid attention to things when I was little. Like, I was interested in taking things apart, seeing how they work, put them back together. Not so much going outside and playing. Real interested in the natural world and stuff like that. So I paid attention to things that are going on in the world I live in, and I was paying attention to that kind of stuff. And then I followed what was going on in the Gulf War for that. And then I know that they gave them all the weapons. So now you're an ally, right? And then we're going to take that away. So we're going to put you on the world stage and then bring you back down. So then they had all these great things. They had pals, they had full bars, they had all kinds of crazy artwork when we were there. Stole all that shit back, right? Chased him around. He was living they caught him in a bunker in the ground, right? He had, I forget how much it was in American hundreds, and a Glock 18, right? And they pull him out and they check him out and everything. They hang with him a rope. He saw the knot this big. Everybody's happy. That's remember when the guy threw the shoe at Bush?
Well, so Saddam was our ally.
Saddam, yeah. Same thing with him, man. Boy,
Him.
blew his house up. They killed his son first. But he was a problem in the 80s. I think it was the 80s.
It was the
It was, yeah, late 70s, 80s.
I'll show you. Valuable. Once he started his shit, getting off the dive, we go in there, he's speaking on his ass.
Yeah.
It's that there's a we had to and bring this up around. Yeah, in Laden makes the CIA after. And it just it cheapens the whole thing. I mean, you can't trust shit, and so going back to Israel, I was always, even a year ago, I mean, there is evidence that shows, they did know, not a year, like you said, not a year ago, but Israel did know about, and I mean, this is what's counted to be the best surveillance able country on Egypt did more. Again, they didn't know they thought. And in fact, part of the divisions it makes you wonder. And the casualty list. Oh, you know what the Hannibal Directive is?
No.
Hannibal Directive is a officially recognized doctrine. The military should be adopted by you. They will use your footage your ass, and they did do it.
Yeah.
No one else did it. Yeah, not just did it. But then you have all these things taken into context.
Well, I see where you're going with this, and I didn't know that whole backstory.
Yeah.
So I saw what happened. And I just didn't read into it much, but I'll definitely have to revisit it because I see exactly where you're going. You gotta get the support of the people. So yeah,
I do feel like, the Holocaust, whatever everybody feels about that. I feel like that.
I think you guys, what you're saying is pretty accurate. I like the opinions. Moving along, this is going to be edited, by the way. All right, let's go with something non-political. Let's talk about, what do you got?
what are your thoughts on just about every professional sport?
Oh, definitely.
100% the NFL, no doubt about it. I've never been into sports. People will say, what are you, yay? I can't even tell you the rules of football. Go to care less. In the games and had seats where I could see the sweat running down the guy's face, and if all I did was look at the cheerleaders. The only thing I do like that I think is fun, that's the only thing. And I did games and I followed it, and then I just got busy with other things. But I do always check it out. Playoff season is on top, but I just football, man. I can't. It's great. There's so much money on it. So much. They have if you think about this, how they can influence everything, the money that's coming in, if they do this and they're not going to like that. you know. And then the other thing is the NFL. The NFL, they own the entire shit. It's a fucking monopoly. I mean, they own everything. You can own the team, but it's like owning McDonald's. You have to do it this way. If you own the team and you know this and that and everything else. I saw something and I don't follow it, but you see headline. Somebody did something. The team didn't find him, but the NFL did because they ultimately worked for them.
Yeah, that was Philadelphia Eagles defensive lineman, and he was taunted by a Cowboys player who spit in his direction, and he spit back on him. NFL fined him, but the team did not. Now, I don't think spitting on anybody is right, but yeah, no, I totally agree. The NFL and the teams are going to do whatever the chief says, and it's all about the mighty dollar at the end of the day. Sports betting, just in life, not even in sports, just every day. It all comes back to money.
What about college ball?
Well, college ball, I'm really not a fan. I really don't follow.
That'd be paid.
Well, that's fine. I mean, these guys are out there, you know, at the end of the day, they should be paid. And I do. And the reason I feel that is because most of these guys are brought in on scholarships, not academics. And they're playing and they're making the colleges all this money. At the end of the day, they can have a catastrophic injury. Well, they'll never, ever, ever play football again. It is a choice that they make. But I feel if the colleges are profiting, why shouldn't the people that are making the money for that?
So much government money that they don't need anything else. Money that you're paying in taxes is going to some college. College, that's a whole nother thing. College is the biggest facade. It is what runs this country, honestly. I know people, and I'm sure you guys would maybe work with someone or know someone who came to this country for an education, and as soon as they're done, they're going the fuck back where they came from. They come here to get a green card. They get a scholarship and this and that. I have never been given anything. I was born and raised. My blood is here. Not, you know.
No, I get it.
I don't think they should be paid. If you want to see real ball, you get a bunch of guys that just want to play ball, and that's when you'll see some real shit. And college used to be like that. If you're gonna pay them, then somebody can say, hey, you get some guy, hey, you know, some mob or something, right? Hey, you guys are playing, you know, against whatever, and I want you to drop the ball.
Well, I'll tell you what.
Here's 50 grand. You can see if you're willing to fucking say in one of them little huts.
The way that it used to be is they all got paid, but it was by agents and it was off the books and all that stuff. Hey, I'll represent you when you come out in the draft, and here's a Mercedes Benz and 500 grand and whatever it may be. There was a lot of corruption that way. At least now it's,
What do you think it's going to happen?
I don't, because what would happen is, you had freshmen that would leave after 1 year and go after the money. Well, maybe now they'll actually stay and get their paycheck, get their degree, stay for 4 years. How many people stay for 4 years in college sports? It's basically unheard. Hopefully this will change that.
All right, so you seem we definitely have. I'm not sure I disagree. I'm not sure I disagree with maybe people sponsorship with direct money. I don't know, you know, and again, I'm not a sports. I'm big at the foot. That doesn't seem like a deal. Maybe sponsorship deal with direct money, more money. See, the small school view, money seldom makes things better. Right. That's what that goes. Yeah, fine.
Anything in life, you follow the money, you'll get answers.
That's enough to keep you where you're at.
Yeah, you're getting the money, and then it's just, you know, I don't have to work too hard to go up.
Yeah.
I already got the money done.
All right, so breaking news.
Oh, okay.
So apparently the name that we had chosen for our podcast is already in use by somebody.
Really?
Or two gentlemen.
I mean, recorded because this is fine.
This is being recorded.
Yeah, we're going to have to call these guys.
And apparently Matt Locke and Ron Phillips podcast insights, the conservative cartel. So we don't want to hijack somebody's name, and we definitely don't want to have a problem with these guys. So we're going to go ahead and either reach out to them, or we'll have to go down another route. But it would be great to maybe invite these guys on and in a future episode and have them call in and we can have some discussions, because I'm thinking that they kind of have the same values, and they'll be able to talk out respectfully. It could make for some good content for us.
Yeah.
Well, how did you guys feel about the interview with Voice of Reason? Yeah, it's amazing how America has changed since the time like when he was growing up. It used to be baseball and fireworks and playing outside. And actually get happy when I see kids outside playing or fishing or this or that. Touching grass, as they say.
It's actually weird to say.
It is weird, but that's how I try to raise my children. It's like, all right, well, enough of that shit. We're going outside. We're going and doing A, B, and C. And Frankie can attest and Token that they know my children pretty well. Actively fishing and let's go off-roading and riding quads and playing baseball. But
On 100 acres, we used to make pipe bombs.
yeah,
Shoot shit.
yeah. But
I'm ready.
but yeah, I mean, I'm just concerned about how the future for the kids, for my kids, my grandkids.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was young, I would take my bike. There was no cell phone, none of that. And I would disappear for 7, 8 hours, and there was no panic. Nobody came running looking for me, and I never felt unsafe. Now I really I get nervous when my children are out of my sight. There's so many weirdos out there. I mean, with the human trafficking thing and pedophiles and all the weird shit, you just really got to keep an eye on your babies.
You're accountable for your actions. I could punch them in the mouth.
Oh, exactly.
You know what I mean? Well, you had to watch your fucking words and carry yourself too.
Yes,
With great confidence.
and definitely,
And that in itself, you just get them done.
definitely. There was an incident with my daughter, actually took place last night, and she went into the kitchen and got a plate of food, and she comes walking by, and she stares me down as she walks by me, and I said, "Hey, I gotta tell you something." I said, "You just challenged, and you don't even realize it." She strutted by, did the head swivel. I said, "Listen," I said, "if you were a man out in public and you did that to me, what would my words be? Hey, buddy, what the fuck's your problem?" Kids don't socialize them. They don't, and that's a direct fucking, sitting inside playing on the tablet and this and that and A, B, and C.
You can't read body language when you're behind.
Body language is so important. There's no consequences.
Letters.
Exactly.
I mean, you ask them something, they want to run away. They don't even want to look at you.
you sit there and
you ask them something. What the fuck do I do now?
you sit there and say, "Hey, how you doing?" And it's just
You work here. Why don't you help me?
the best is wow. You hold the door for somebody and they walk right by you.
Yeah, I got a Royal Farm for one.
Oh, Royal Farms, the place of the world's best chicken. Nah, well, I'll tell you what, my thoughts is, have you ever stood in line at Walmart and somebody goes, "Well, the self-checkout is open."
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I look them right in the eyes and I say, "I don't work here."
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, now you can only bring 15 other than 15.
So if you have 16, they're coming for you.
Yeah, they could.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't understand why.
Like, we're still living in COVID.
Yeah.
And that's what they want.
Look at the DMV.
Yeah.
And shit.
Yeah,
They're all open.
there's only certain, you have to go to a certain one for registration, certain one for license. Yeah. Well, we're under a Democratic governor who feeds in all that shit.
Yeah.
He loves it.
Not from here, by the way.
Oh,
No.
yeah.
Not at all. Not at all.
Got to be from this country to be president.
Oh, exactly. I like that thought. I'm right there with you.
Long years.
Well, I'm hoping that the upcoming election goes our way and we don't get stuck with it. I'm hoping we don't get stuck.
I'm certain.
I hope so. I mean, we almost flipped red last time.
It was so close that Murphy put out a statement because he was shook and said that he was going to try to come together and, kind of cater to both sides. He didn't do. But,
Well, he's all about North Jersey.
that's the only that exists.
We're finance.
Yeah.
We ain't sure.
I'll tell you what, I can't stand being up in North Jersey. If you're going north of Tuckerton, I don't want to be up there for more than a couple hours. I can't stand it.
Yeah, 195 corridor. Once you're there, you get over that point, and North Jersey Careful, and yeah,
I mean, not to mention
everything's being
they call Porkle Taylor Ham up there.
Yeah.
Mrs. Jacks, she's a northerner. At one point, she was married to a Canadian. Yeah, that's all right. We don't have a problem with them. All right, so listen, this was a good start. Unfortunately, we're running out of time. We've been on for a little over 2 hours now. Yeah, time flies by when you're having fun. You know, do things. It's a price to pay. But you want to have fun, you got to pay the price. I enjoyed your interview. I got to tell you, Ghost, you're a good interviewer. You asked the good questions. I'll tell you what, quite impressive.
Good dudes, man.
Yeah, no, I get it. I'm with you all day. I do. I get the pleasure of spending a lot of time with them.
Right, so what are we at?
Oh, that's for a whole. I could do a whole show. I could do a whole show.
Keep me away.
Keep me away from home for another 3 minutes. Oh man, Mr. Voice of Reason. Turns out I found out a couple things. He told you it was a family of 10 children, and he was a preemie. When he was born, he was only 4 pounds. And he recently told me that he was talking to his sister. They weren't rich. They weren't even middle class. They were struggling to get by. And his sister confirmed when they brought you home from the hospital, she tells him, you slept in a dresser drawer for 2 months. That's where Mr. Voice of Reason slept for the first 2 months of his life, in a dresser drawer, because there was no bassinet. There was no this or that. And this was in, it was at a tough time. His father didn't make a lot of money. Post-military, he actually worked for a very well-known orthopedic organization, physician assistant. And the physician that he was assigned to actually had dealings with local professional sport teams. So he consistently was in clubhouses and whatnot. So that's one privilege that I did have growing up. He would call me, when I get home from school, and he'd be like, be ready, I'm coming to pick you up. We're going to this game tonight. And best seats in the house. So that was like something that was like, wow. And I never took it for granted. I always appreciate that. You know what I mean? When I was younger, I was an athlete. I was in sports. I played basketball, baseball. Most would have thought football, but no. But there's so many stories that he has told me, and things that he has said over the years. I'm going to actually take notes, and on the next cast, maybe we'll share some more. But I'll tell you what, he's he's not everybody's cup of tea. That's their problem. He's sometimes when we go out and we're in a restaurant, he makes me put my head down like, I can't believe you just said that. I'm sure that some of the waitresses at the local restaurants know him by face, just because the classic old man jokes, they're not even classic. For instance, one of his things is he'll order a pulled pork sandwich, and he'll look at the waitress and he'll say, I need it pulled by a left-handed person. And when it comes out, he'll be like, you got to take this back. I can tell it was a right-handed person. And a lot of times the waitress will be confused, and I'll just be like, yeah, never mind him. You know what I mean?
He used to be like, get head down.
I'll tell you what, there was a point where me and Mr. Voice of Reason, we went through some tough times, and we're both strong-willed and we're both strong-headed. And there was times where we went head-to-head and toe-to-toe. But at the end of the day, I respect the man, and I value every second I have with him. So, like I said, I hope everybody enjoyed. And I hope that he comes back for years to come. And hopefully the podcast, whatever the name is going to be, I hope he keeps coming back for years to come. And maybe one day we'll have Mrs. Jacks on, and we're looking to expand and grow. And, I think this was a good first show. Obviously, there's a lot of room to grow, and hopefully our audience can hang in there with us and grow with us. Mr. Token, anything you would like to say before we end? All right, well, I'll tell you what. Here's what we're going to do. The next show, you're going to pick the first topic, and we'll go from there. Because I know you personally, and I know that you have a lot to say, and you're very opinionated. So let's touch on some things that maybe you'll be more vocal about for the next show. Or no, I mean, no, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's all. All right. Mr. Ghost, what do you got?
You vouched for both of these guys and said we get along well.
That's awesome. This is good. I think we have the potential. Thank you, baby.
I think it's going to be good. I'll get used to it, and the first one's going to be a little.
Eventually, we're going to go video as well. We're going to do some live shows, but basically, we're just trying to get the ball rolling, work through some rough spots, and learn a little bit, and basically try and provide some better content for you guys, and keep everybody entertained. So that'll be great. That'll be great. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you tuning into the No Name Show, and hope you enjoyed. Leave a comment. Hit us up. Thank you.